All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for sparing your Saturday evening time with us. Welcome to the Tempethon. Please shoot messages over the chat window to tell where you come from, the city you're in, the country you're from. Maybe you could connect in this amazing Tempeh network around the globe. So as you can see, enjoy this hype of the World Tempeh Month that we've been celebrating along this June 2021. And again, thank you for keeping with us at this climax event of the World Tempeh Month itself. So for those who have followed Tempeh Movement social media accounts, you might have seen the incredible Tempeh initiative from around the world. We have launched amazing food products. Oh, we got something from Jakarta. We have somebody from Mexico. Yes, keep shouting where you come from. What tempeh do you like in the chat group? We'd love to hear more from you. And if you haven't, follow Tempeh Movement on social media, because we have seen great Tempeh products, Tempeh product launches. We've got fitness challenges as well. We've got the virtual museum coming up. We've got workshops. We've got merchandise as well. And today, we're at the very climax of the World Tempeh Month, which is the Tempethon. This is our world's first virtual Tempeh conference. We feature more than like a condensation of 10 different countries to represent how they view tempeh as. But all about these boils down into one: why tempeh is Indonesia's best kept food secret. All right, so if everybody's ready, I think we're going to see some highlights of the World Tempeh Month. So let's see some incredible photos that we've collected. We've got tempeh gelato being launched in Indonesia, tempeh protein bowls, tempeh making kits, vegan meat alternative in Europe. We got incredible products, and not only that, we've got tempeh fashion, tempeh workouts, tempeh facts. What's the relationship between tempeh and COVID? What's the true health benefits of tempeh, social mission? And then now we're ready to kick off the Tempethon. So today, we're going to go over why tempeh is the world's probably best food secret that comes from Indonesia in terms of producing healthy, affordable, and sustainable foods. And for the next 48 hours, we got the other sessions as well. We got tomorrow morning Indonesian time, and please adjust the time zones. I know it's a lot of time zones to cover, but we have the Tempeh from Indonesia to the world session as well, featuring Indonesian Tempeh Movement's co-founders, the Tempeh Movement USA's co-founders, and incredible tempeh making and tempeh cooking workshops. So we got 4 sessions in total. And after this, we got what's the relationship between tempeh with health and fitness, and food diplomacy as well. Then after that, we've got tempeh innovation and cooking. So without further ado, let's kick this off. Okay, so again, in this today's session, we're going to start quite slowly, mindfully, to get a full grasp of why tempeh, why there's Tempeh Movement, why there's Tempethon, what's the idea behind all this, why should we spend our weekends, our precious weekends, attending tempeh events. So I only have one story, and it's very personal. So it's just take it as a bedtime story for you in Indonesia, and as a morning glory story for you both in the States, for example, and some evening cool down story if you're in the European time zone. All right, so about all these Tempeh Movement thing, it all started when I was struck by these almost mind-blowing and thoughtful questions when I was in college in 2014. So why am I alive, and what do I live for? How could I leave a mark in this world, and what's my very own mission? I saw myself just a speck in this vast galaxy, and something that made me unable to fall asleep at night. I saw myself just one out of these millions of people around me that I met every day. Well, at the same time, there are many sufferings in this world that it seems irresponsible if I don't try to contribute to ameliorating this. So before the new babies were born, how could I give a contribution to this world during my lifetime? So I simply Googled it, how to find life mission from this Ikigai chart, trying to align what I love, what I'm good at, what the world needs, and what I could make a living from, trying to align different things like sports, arts, music that I like, but science, in particular food science, hits me differently. At the same time, my grandpa, who is also the co-founder of Indonesian Tempeh Movement, say that everything happens for a reason. So I tried to contemplate everything about every single thing in my life. So why was I born as Indonesian? Why do I like to eat? Why do I like to do arts? Why do I like to travel? Why am I always ambitious? Why was I born as the grandson of the Indonesian father of food science and technology? So by connecting these dots, that narrowed down to one pretty sophisticated phrase, like Indonesian food biotechnology, but the manifestation of it might not seem as sophisticated as it seems. I was lucky because in 2016, I traveled to the eastern part of Indonesia and befriended with many, many amazing kids in Raja Ampat, on Raja Ampat Islands in Sawangrai village. And we became close friends just because I went there almost every other year. But unfortunately, one thing struck me. So I was inspired by this one particular kid called Eddie, because he showed amazing leadership skill that made me think that, wow, if there are local leaders like this around the world and we can help them achieve the maximum potentials, maybe making the world a better place is not a cliche anymore. With that realization, I thought, what could I do? But at the same time, I realized that most of them suffered from protein energy malnutrition. So I started to think, what could I do as an Indonesian food scientist to help with this case? At the same time, interestingly, I was obsessed with bodybuilding. I want that six pack. I want the highest muscle composition and the lowest fat content for my body. So I tried different sources of protein like meat, protein, whey protein, and milk and eggs, but either they would left me bloated or financially broke. So as a scientist, I did this research, and to my surprise, tempeh was actually a good source of protein. And to me, it was quite mind-blowing because tempeh, this food has been around for 400 years, been known as traditional, conventional, uncool, irrelevant with the modern lifestyle. But the more I think about it, it would be convenient if it's true, because tempeh has been around on my dining table almost every day, can be cooked in many, many delicious ways, most of them Indonesian style at my home. But the more I did research about that, the more I was surprised. Because so this data combined by the so-called Tempeh Bible that I just published in 2021 with my advisors from my PhD dissertation from the University of Massachusetts Amherst. So nutrition-wise, tempeh contains similar amounts of energy and protein compared to beef, but with much lower saturated fat content, much higher fiber content, much higher calcium content. I was surprised. Similar levels of iron, much lower sodium content, and can include vitamin B12 that I thought only present in animal-based product. And not only that, the sustainability aspect of it as well. So here you can see how much protein we can produce for every unit of energy. For example, you can see beef produces 4 grams of protein per megajoule, while tempeh can produce 17 grams of protein per megajoule. So that is about 4 times more energy efficient. And not only that, in terms of emission that relate to climate crisis, greenhouse gases, how much protein we can produce for every kilogram carbon dioxide equivalent in beef is 7 grams of protein. In tempeh, you can produce almost 160 grams of protein per kilograms of carbon dioxide equivalent. So that is about 20 times more emission efficient. And looking at these facts, I thought this is such a hidden treasure of Indonesia that if we promote it and develop it well, it can tackle probably global issues like protein, energy, malnutrition, the #1 killing disease, the heart disease, and climate crisis. So, all right, I got my emotional why, I got this passion for this particular food, and I started to tell people about this, but people wouldn't believe. There's been still this strong negative paradigm about tempeh, but to no surprise, because our first president, Sukarno, said that don't be a tempeh nation, which is understandable because the old way to make tempeh is using our feet to stomp it to open the skins, just like you make wine. But then now with this new scientific facts, let's be a tempeh nation actually. So we use this so-called don't have tempeh mentality. Wait a second, for now, let's have tempeh mentality. That's why we have the Mental Tempeh campaign in Indonesia. And it all started at one dining table with my grandpa, with my mom in 2014. We thought that we got to do something as food scientists to educate people about this new tempeh facts. What about we make an international conference of tempeh? So in February 2015, it was a huge success, but we felt that it was just the tip of the iceberg. We need to dig more because there's the overwhelming potential of tempeh outside of the scientific world in terms of art, in terms of foods, in terms of culinary arts as well, community development. So we have to make something that accommodates all of these. That's why we made the Indonesian Tempeh Movement. We act like a sandbox with the concept of, hey, let's make beautiful sandcastles together. So towards these good missions of health, sustainability, and affordability, people, realize it or not, can benefit from it. We do great things, and I have my life mission. So we started just using Facebook and Instagram accounts, did this experiment on bodybuilding in the beginning, and many people followed. And now professionals follow Tempeh Challenge on Instagram. And we also make educational materials like videos, infographics. So we just do whatever we can. We, without realizing it at this time, we have collaborated with 14 different countries through many activities like educational. There's elementary school kids. My mom went to a jail in Indonesia to teach the inmates how to produce and sell their own healthy foods. Many food diplomacy events around the world, and especially the Tempeh Movement USA as a non-profit organization is sprouting very strongly. It all boils down to celebrating this unique, nerdy relationship between the three of us. But while many more people have enjoyed the Tempeh Movement, there's this one realization that I think not many people have realized. So tempeh is not just a food. Tempeh can be seen as a process as well. There are, in fact, about 21 grains and all other ingredients have been made into tempeh that you can learn how to make this other bean tempeh from our next workshop. And then I also found evidence like these crafted culinary arts aspect of tempeh, like white bean tempeh burger in Brazil. We got fafa bean tempeh boat in Ethiopia. We have buckwheat tempeh soba noodle in Japan. We have common bean winning food in Tanzania. We have vegan meat made of lupin tempeh in Europe. We got hemp seed tempeh burger in the United States. It's mind-blowing. But what's been consistent is that whatever the ingredient, we see consistent benefits of the fermentation process itself. So fat contents decrease, as well as salt and carbohydrate. Fiber content increased, mineral content increased, antioxidants, paraprobiotics, so dead probiotics that still can give you health benefits. So just like vaccine, and vitamin B12 content as well, and reducing phytic acid that is not beneficial for a digestive system, or also allergens as well. So increasing the good things, reducing the bad things. It's also vegan friendly, gluten-free, kosher, and halal. It's all about inclusivity, food of inclusivity. Well, we got some special case in Molo, Nusa Tenggara Timur, thanks to our friend Dikisenda. On the left, you can see rice bean tempeh. I didn't know there's rice bean before. And on the right, you will see lima beans. Usually people need to boil them 12 times to remove its natural toxin. But with tempeh fermentation, we can make it savor quicker. So that means exploring new crops and exploring new ways to enjoy them to make it more edible, food safe, and enjoyable. Well, now to end my session, I would like to invite you to imagine. Have you ever wondered how crazy popular foods like burgers, pizzas, travel to all corners of the world? Well, interestingly, that happened during a crisis, the World War II to be exact. Now, speaking of crisis, we've never been in a more serious crisis than what we are in now, which is the climate crisis. Now, this is the perfect time to spread Tempeh fermentation as Indonesia's best kept food secret to producing healthy, sustainable, affordable, and delicious foods by utilizing local crops around the world. So thank you for attending this kickoff session. I hope you can join us in this Tempeh movement through the Tempethon and our ongoing projects. So I think for now, we're very happy to accept questions. So please shoot your questions in the chat window, and we will filter it and to answer the best ones. And meanwhile, you type all those questions, I would like to give some briefs about what's waiting for us in the next session. So here we have Yoga. Yoga from Tempeh Movement is an avid Tempeh mover, I would say, starting from the very early days of the Tempeh conference. We had nothing, we only had beliefs, and yoga came from where Tempeh originated in 300 years ago, just like my grandpa in Klaten, Central Java. So with yoga's in-depth understanding of Tempeh and its cultural background, and we have a very special guest today, which is Bu Putri Gremmer. Bu Putri Gremmer is right from Grenada in the Caribbean. So very exclusive, would send you the never before revealed how to make Tempeh out of the world's bean. So the ingredients are still secret. So stay tuned and you can learn for free how to make Tempeh using unconventional ingredients. Okay, so I think we can welcome the questions. And meanwhile, I would read how many people have joined and how many countries we have at the time being. So let's see, we got Henry from France. Welcome, Henry. And we got Joanna from France as well. We got Stella from Jakarta. We got Catherine from Mexico. We got Quinn Loris from United States. Welcome. Narima from Seattle. Mary Burns from Colorado. We got Tejas Kundakar from Oman. Welcome. We got Sonia from Sardinia. Amazing. We got Mike Hillis, our Tempeh mover in the US. We got Yoko from Jakarta. Welcome. We got Nerissa from Tangerang. We got Misha from Indonesia. Hello. We got Nimas from Indonesia. Hello. We got Willie from Bandung. We got Agustina from Yogyakarta. We got Cecilia from Argentina. We have Michelle from Indonesia. We have Edwin from Tangerang. Hello. We got UMKM Banten, Indonesia, I guess. So thank you for joining. We got Soloni from India as well. We got Rennie from Chile. How amazing is that? So yeah, please shooting all your questions. I will reply that on the chat window. Okay, so stay tuned for my answer. And then for the next session, I know you can't wait it anymore. I would like to welcome Yoga and Bu Putri.
Hello, everyone. Good evening, Indonesia. Good morning and good afternoon to all of our audiences from different parts of the globe. I will honored to welcome you to the most anticipated virtual conference on Tempeh, Tempethon, to celebrate the world's Tempeh month this June. For further info, you may want to visit our Instagram account at Tempeh Movement. So without the H, it's the original word of Tempeh in Indonesia. So just at Tempeh Movement. And you'll find the updates there and fascinating information that we keep on updating you almost on a daily basis. All right. So we are glad that this session is powered by Indonesian Tempeh Movement, Alman, the Tropical Kitchen, Tuberkey, Better Nature, Light Life Plant-Based Protein, Big Change Agency, and also Masak TV. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Yoga Adisatya, as under-introduced, and I come from Indonesia, from a town where Tempeh, Indonesia's best kept food secret for the world, was first documented around 300 years ago. And the name of the town is Klaten. I'm glad to be your host for this session. This session will be the first session where we are glad to welcome tempeh makers from around the globe to share about their stories on tempeh. Today, we are happy to have Mrs. Putri Gremmer, whom I will call Mbak Putri. Mbak is the Indonesian way to call a lady. I'll call Mbak Putri throughout the session. So Mbak Putri is an Indonesian living in Grenada, one of the islands in Caribbean islands. And she's running a home-based business, fermenting food and beverages. So that's very exciting for me as well. And also, of course, you who might want to start a similar business in your own place. All right, so without further ado, let's welcome Mbak Putri.
Hello.
Hello, Mbak Putri.
Good morning from Indonesian. Can you hear me, everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, selamat malam.
Yeah, we can hear you. I think there's a bit of. Yeah, I think we can hear you clearly now.
Okay. All right. So I'll repeat. Selamat malam for everyone who lives in Indonesia, and good morning from Grenada. But before we go further, I just would like to thank you to Tempe Movement, Mr. Ando and Mr. Yoga for giving me this opportunity to be a part of this Tempe Glory movement. So yeah, my name is Putri. I'm Indonesian who lives abroad, and this year we just moved to the island of Grenada, Caribbean, and I've been making tempeh for quite some years due to the limited access to get tempeh, especially in the island of Caribbean. So yeah, here I am. I'm happy to share with every one of you my secret, let's say, and all my way of making tempeh.
So the real reason why you started this home-based tempeh business was just because you were struggling to find one, so just make one, wasn't it?
Yes. That's one of the reasons, really. Especially in Caribbean islands, people don't really know what is tempeh. I mean, lots of people do a plant-based or vegan diet. However, they have no idea what tempeh was. And of course, being Indonesian, I think everyone knows that tempeh is a staple in their house, and there is no way that you don't have tempeh in the house. And I said, okay, I need to do something about it. And that's the time that I start making at home. But commercially, I do it just now here in this island of Grenada.
Well, that's great. Right, before we go to your amazing video again, but which we have seen a couple of seconds ago, I just wanna ask you a couple of questions, if you don't mind. So first, I'm curious about the type of beans or peas that you have been experimenting with, because if people go to your Instagram account at Tempeh Grenada, You'll see beautiful pictures of beautiful tempeh, which not many Indonesians are seeing in our country. So what types of beans or peas have you been working with?
So far, I've been trying almost, well, I don't say everything, but I try to cover all type of beans or grains or legumes that are available in the island. And for me, making tempeh, it's about imagination, that I try those beans individually, and I try to imagine of a different flavor and what I want to do with it. If let's say I want to make it a tartar tempeh, so I know what kind of flavor I want, then I start experimenting by adding some spices or fresh edible flowers or any other type of grains that it's people call maybe impossible, but I would like to make that possible. So people don't see tempeh again as just beans or just tempeh, but it's something else that more than tempeh itself, you know. So you can enjoy, as you enjoy maybe a piece of a Wagyu beef, you know, in a form of tempeh itself.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, and locally, people in Grenada, they grow their own black-eyed peas, beans, as well as split peas, the yellow and greens. So that's what most of time I use in my tempeh, because it goes more palatable to the local flavor, and for them to be easy to accept, because until today, I still have to educate the local people what it's tempeh, how good tempeh is, what is the benefit by using the local delicacy or local flavor.
Well, you sounded just like a tempeh scientist, just like Andrew, who has a PhD in tempeh science. Wow, amazing. But just before we start the video, can you please introduce what's on the table for us?
Say it again. Can you repeat?
Can you please introduce to us what is on your table right now? All the equipment and ingredients.
As you see, I got a bowl of beans inside, but this is actually chickpeas that I've been soaked overnight. And many people ask sometime with me that how long should I soak it? Well, the best is 12 hours minimum, but yes, we call it overnight because most of the time we do it only by evening later, so we can do it in the morning. And then what we have is the starter that I brought all the way from home, but by the time I make it myself here and there's no access to get a starter, then I have to make it my own. And what we need next is strainer, so we can just strain once the beans were boiled, and of course the pots to boil the beans, and one extra clean bowl, and as well as a drying rack. But in my case, we do have a homemade drying rack. It's pretty big, so I can't really show you here. But for those of you just making a small amount of tempeh at home, you can just use a kitchen towel and just lay over on the bed, on the table, and then just use a fan or hair dryer to dry your beans. And next is the leaves, because I'm using leaves here, because this leaves is pretty much available through the year, and it's grow behind my backyard. So
what's
it's
that?
It's a ketapang, I think, in Indonesia, in the
right.
And we call it an Indian almond leaf in Grenada. And of course, you can use many more like silicone mold or any other type of container. Glass container, of course, would be preferable. So we try to reduce as much as plastic as we could to help our environment. And there is an option as well that compostable bag. I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but it's composed in 24 weeks. And so it could be an alternative, of course. And then thermometer. So you can check time to time your tempeh temperature. And that's it for now. And of course, beans and whatever choice of bean you prefer.
That's perfect. All right. I just saw on the chat that I think there's Narima. You just got yourself a new fan in Grenada.
Oh, okay.
I think Narima is in Grenada, and I think I would like to also meet you. So a new fan in neighborhood, right? All right. Without further ado, let's play the video. And Mbak Putri, could you please guide us through the video and tell what is happening in the video, step by step of making tempeh, please?
Sure. So this is just introduction, I believe. I do kefir, I do most type of fermentation. But in this video particularly, I'm going to make tempeh. And moving to this island, the island of Grenada, Caribbean, West Indies, I didn't expect that I would not find any tempeh because I lived in a different island of Caribbeans before, and it was easy to find tempeh, although it was not fresh. But we still can get access to get tempeh. But in this island, there is no way to get tempeh, and I decided to make my own tempeh, my version, my way, with my own twist. But again, you have to remember there is no right or wrong, worse or better, because everybody have their own way to make tempeh. And again, we are living in a different climate, different country, different utility, different environment, so everything has to be adapted to the local environment and local way of living. So in this case, I try to use very local products such as chickpeas, black eyed peas bean, and peas, and try to turn them into a different tempeh. Not just soybean, because I know these days it's very hard to find a good quality soybean tempeh, so we try just to skip that part and create new type of tempeh. So I think this is the time to break it down, my way of tempeh making. Enjoy! To start, we need 1 cup of chickpeas and good amount of water, because you have to remember chickpeas will go double in size once you soak it overnight. This step applies to other beans, lentils, and grains. Please do not skip this soaking process. Once it's soaked overnight, we need to wash the chickpeas before boiling process. Blend the chickpeas and do not rinse it. Next, we dry the chickpeas on a kitchen towel or drying rack. This drying rack was specially made by my husband for our tempeh making, and we wash it every time after we use it. You can always use fan or hair dryer or just air dry to dry your tempeh. It's totally your choice. You need to understand the term of dry here means not wet, but still damp enough to boost the growth of the mold, since the mold needs moisture to grow. Once the chickpeas dry, put in a bowl. You can either give a little smash with spatula, or you can just leave it as it is, as a whole. And what you see here is a bowl of a wild black rice that has been cooked to al dente. It's about half cup, I think. It was soaked, cooked, and dried. Now mix it well with the chickpeas. Next, it's time to add your choice of starter. Some prefer Rhizopus oryzgosporus, and some other people prefer to use Rhizopus oryzae. For me, I like to play around with both spores, with different beans, grains, or legumes. To be honest, for me, both spores works great. For 500 grams or 2 cups of beans, add half teaspoon of starter. Remember to mix them very well. And if you get time to check our Instagram page at Tempeh Grenada, you will see some photos of my lentils with great mycelium growth. And don't worry guys, figure it out once you try one of each spores. Do your experiments. Don't be scared of failing. Making tempeh is about patience and curiosity. Keep trying until you get the hang of it. Once everything mixed, prepare your packaging. You can use leaves, Ziploc bag, container, either from glass or plastic. For home-scale tempeh maker or the beginners, you can always try with whatever you have at home. You can recycle old plastic container, you can use your jar, takeaway cup, or berries box. Anything will work. But if your goal is to do plastic-free, yes, you can use leaf, such as banana leaf, burdock, cabbage, bamboo, turmeric leaves, oaks, and many more. In my case today, I'm using Indian almond leaf. The reason why I'm using Indian almond leaf, because this type of leaf is available in the island 365 days in a year in the island of Grenada. And you know what? It grows in my backyard. However, alternatively, using compostable bag, it works too. As I'm selling my tempeh to the store, fresh and frozen, you can use plastic bag or compostable bag. You have plenty of choice. Choose what works best for you. And make sure you wash and clean the leaf very well if that's what you prefer to use. And remember to poke the holes on the plastic bag if you use one, both sides, left and right. It's time for incubation, when the fermentation process will start. Since I live in tropical island, I don't use incubation chamber or box. The average temperature of this island is about 27 to 31 degrees Celsius. I use thermometer control so I can check from time to time the fermentation process. After the first 24 hours, you have to check how your tempeh turned into. Sometimes the fermentation could stop in 24 hours, but sometimes it goes up to 48 hours, but mostly done between 36 to 38 hours. As you see, my cupboard is very simple box that used a homemade bamboo rack. Voila! The next 36 hours, my tempeh is ready. Let's have a look. The result of my tempeh, chickpeas, and wild black rice that we made a few days ago. It's perfect, firm, and good mycelium growth. Know your tempeh ready when you see the growth of white fluffy molds called mycelium. And when you smell it, it got earthy, nutty, and fresh smells to it. When your tempeh looks slimy and stains, means your tempeh is failed. That can happen for many reasons. Either your beans was too dry, or not dry enough, not enough starter, or your temperature is just too hot or too cold. Depends on where you live. Now you can slice or cut into cubes, chop or dice your tempeh, do as you wish. You can make them into a dish what you like. You may notice that I didn't use vinegars or rice flour because that is what works best for my tempeh. But for those of you who wish to add a bit of vinegar, please go ahead. The ratio is 1 tablespoon per 500 grams. So I hope you guys enjoy the video, and please let me know if you have any question.
Wow, that's plenty of question, but waiting for you. I hope we have time to cover. Right. I'll just
yes.
yeah. I just start with the question from the audience. Yeah. I have a couple, but I'll put it at the end of the session. So the first question is, what percentage of other ingredients do you add if you happen to add other ingredients?
Okay. When it comes to beans and legumes, let's say when I play beans and legumes, I do 50-50. But if I do mix of legumes, bean with grains, I always put about 70-30. Let's say, as you see in the picture, the chickpeas is about 70%, and the wild black rice is only about 30% from the whole amount. The reason is that you do not want to have over both. If your plan is, you want to have a chickpeas tempeh, but you do not want to overpower the other one. So I will put more chickpeas than the wild black rice, because I still want to have more flavor on chickpeas than the wild rice itself.
All right, so it's roughly 70-30.
Yes,
right.
yes.
For those who still have questions, you may type it in the chat room, and I'll ask it to Mbak Putri for you. Hopefully we have time to cover, right? And the second question, I'm not entirely sure if it has been answered by Ando or not, but just I'm going to ask it. Would it be a problem when a glass container is used, since we cannot make holes?
Not at all. The reason is I say no, because when you use the glass container, you still have the top open. And most of glass container, most of them, I know not all of them, most of them come with a lid. So you still can put the lid, but you don't close them tightly. So you still give a little room for air to breathe in and out. But alternatively, if you don't have the cover, you can always put a damp cloth or a clean rag, and you can poke some holes on top of it.
It's just like carrying a baby. It's like a living, breathing organism, right?
Yes, correct.
Beautiful.
Because apply the same as silicone mold, because I know lots of people out there, especially in the western side of the world, they use lots of silicone mold, and you know that there's no holes everywhere except the top. So what they do, some of them, I know there is a maker that who lives in Hawaii, and he put that kind of a glass, see-through glass, that it got perforated holes on top of it. So we still get a circulation for tempeh to breathe.
Perfect. And then the third question, I guess I just want to add on it more. How long do you leave it on the drying system? Maybe you can add if people are living in like 4 seasons during the year. You know, in Indonesia, we only have 2 seasons, but in your case, maybe would it need a longer time or shorter time during different seasons? How long?
No, I mean, if you talk about this island, this is the climate, I must say, it's exactly the same as Indonesian climate. So the range of the temperature is about the same, 27 to 31 degrees when it gets really hot. So I don't really have to adjust anything at the end. But I know people who live in Europe or a place that is pretty cold sometimes. I know most people, they put in the oven, if you have oven with the lights on. And you can, some people also use a warm blanket, electric blanket to keep it warm. And as well as I know also lots of people also making their own homemade incubation box out of many type of box that they can use.
Yeah, actually, I also made tempeh when I was in the UK, and I just put it nearby my heater, right?
There you go. That works too. Yeah, yeah. And some of them put behind the fridge as well.
Yeah,
because it's too warm. So yeah, that's some people
gotta
do.
be creative, right? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And then the next question, I hope this is not a secret. How can we multiply our starter?
Okay, that's a question I know lots of people asking. Of course, as I mentioned, I'm sure you watch the videos that I try to avoid my soybean tempeh production here, because we do not get access to get a good soybean or non-GMO or organic soybean. So what I try to do, I use my other beans as a starter by adding, of course, the rice flour, because it's important and it's a part of the making a tempeh starter. And I've been making using a black beans tempeh starter, and I've been using with a split peas tempeh starter. And for me, some people questioning that, but it's not working for me, but it works for me. So to justify it's hard, but again, I think you just need to experiment again and again until you get it right. So that's how I multiply my starter without buying from anywhere, because I don't get that access until today.
Until today. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'd love to see that another business opportunity.
Yes, I can make a video next time. I can make another video.
Okay, yeah, and then I'll just go to my list of questions now. I just want to be right. So, can you just share what obstacles did you face when introducing tempeh in this quite new market? Because you said nobody was making tempeh.
Yes, in Grenada, people follow a diet called ITO. It's sort of called vegan or vegetarian, but it's in a Rastafarian diet that people eating, yes, lots of local production, including beans. It's a typical Caribbean food that using beans, plantain, and other type of plant-based. They just don't believe that fermentation is something that can be eaten. Why? Because it's fungus, because it's mold. And whenever you try to put neck to neck between tempeh and mushroom, because they both at the end is mushroom, but they still don't believe that tempeh it's also, it's not, I'm not calling superior, but it's have a same level of other type of plant-based food. As a matter of fact, that it can be your natural prebiotic because of the fermentation process. And lots of people got a problem. They said, oh, whenever I consume kind of beans or legumes or lentils, I've got gassy in my tummy. I've got so much problem with my stomach. But then I try to explain that then where the tempeh is your savior, because all of that problem, it will be, let's say, cured by the tempeh, because the tempeh gone through a long process, which is called that fermentation, which really helps your problem, as what all mentioned by Mr. Ando before. What is all that benefit? What is the health benefit behind this mighty tempeh? And slowly people get to it, because again, people not used to some cold fermentation, as I mentioned, including kombucha, kefir, or that kind of stuff. So, but slowly it's getting there, and I really have to be there, educate them, let them taste, explain A to Z that it could be possible that they will accept that slowly, that this can be their meat replacement, because I know lots of people doing all of this for our world, I mean, for our planet to be a better place to live.
Sustainable. Yeah.
Yes, sustainable. Yeah. Sustainable. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Okay, I'm just going to jump back to the chat. Here is a question. I just checked your Instagram account, Putri, so beautiful and color. Agree, 100%. If we put other ingredients like flower petals, do we need to? Do they need to be cooked with the bean or just fresh?
No, it's fresh as it is. As long as you know those are clean. What I do, I grow them in front of my house. Yeah, sometimes I got few here and there from friends, but I know that it needs to be clean, rinse with a running water, and then dry them. You don't have to dry until it's really, really dry, because you want a fresh petals. So you just dry with a tissue or paper towel, and then after you mix all of the starter with beans and grains, and then you add that at last, and fresh.
All right. Okay, but I'm also curious. I want to know your thoughts on the tips that you might want to give to other Indonesians or other people living abroad outside of Indonesia, unfamiliar about tempeh, who might want to make tempeh as business from home, just like you do. You're just right there from your kitchen. What's your tips?
Yeah. Well, first, if you don't know how to make, first of all, of course, you have to go try until you get it right, because I know there are many type of tempeh and produced by different tempeh makers everywhere, and I know I'm nothing compared to those big name out there. But again, as a home-based production, I don't scared of failing. I don't scared of trying. And if you want to be different, you really have to go further. You have to have that passion, patience. And I know whenever you go to Google or YouTube, you will find so many people making their tempeh and telling you this and that and this and that. It might not work for you, but it might not for me, or it might not work for me, but for you working. So you don't have to stick to one Bible, because tempeh is all about exploring. It's about experimenting. So you don't stick to one thing, and then once you failed and you kept on saying that, why am I failing? I've been following this instruction from this woman or from this man who's been making tempeh, but mine, it kept on failing. It's all about trying and trying and trying. And I know some people, I believe, maybe asking a question that, why am I not using vinegar in my video? I know people on the other side of the world using vinegar. I know that is a part of one thing, is like in state, it's important to know the whole process, and they need to check the pH, and that need to be applied, and that need to be recognized, and the government do all of that checking for the safety, for the health and safety reason. And I know some people in Indonesia, they will say that, no, we don't use it, because we never use it, because again, we all know that the environment carry that all good bacteria that is really only grown in Indonesia. So the vinegar or rice flour is not required. And in my case here, in the beginning when I came, I tried to make with vinegar by adding vinegar or some rice flour. It's just not working. It's just keep on failing and spoiled. So I was start thinking, I make 2 batches and one using vinegar and one without. I adjust every measurement I could, but it's just not working in my case here. And I'm start thinking that it might something to do with the climate, that I believe that it's somehow it's similar what we have in Indonesia. So then that's maybe one of the reasons that my tempeh do not require any vinegar or rice flour.
Thanks for answering that, but let's just come to the last question. I believe there are still a couple coming from the audiences, but don't be afraid. Just you can always ask us through our social media accounts. And I would like to know your dream, but what else, or towards which direction would you like to experiment further with tempeh? Because we are waiting for your next Instagram post.
I have sometimes I really have a wild imagination over tempeh. I mean, tempeh, I think if I can use strong word, I would like tempeh should rule the world. I mean, you know, not just as tempeh or not just as just food, but it can be anything that beyond. You know that I've seen when people talk about fashion, let's say, if Lady Gaga can wear a meat dress, why people can't wear tempeh dress? You know, there's things that beyond our imagination. And for myself, seeing tempeh in this island, my goal is really to have tempeh all over Caribbean, because there's nobody, almost nobody who make tempeh in the region of Caribbean that selling a fresh tempeh. And of course, we all of us, I think, who loves tempeh, as we know, we call it Indonesian identity. And my really hope or wish will be recognized by UNESCO. So this is our heritage. This is something we will carry, and our generation, next 7 generation, or until forever generation, that they should know that tempeh it's one of the Indonesian gift to the world.
Thank you. Well, what a dream to achieve, yeah.
A lot, yeah.
Well, but Putri, thank you for the time that you have given us starting early this morning in your place. And I would like to also thank, I think, your whole family helping you to prepare this. And also special thanks to the following parties who have made this event possible: Indonesian Tempeh Movement, Element, the Tropical Kitchen, Toverkey, Better Nature, Light Life, Plant-Based Protein, Big Change Agency, and also Masak TV. And before we close, we want to take a picture together, right?
Yes.
And I guess before we do that, also, Ando would like to give a closing message for all of us here regarding the next sessions. Please, Ando.
Yes, thank you very much, everyone, for spending your Saturday night with us all. And we still have many exciting sessions. So like the inspiring session from Bu Putri and yoga today, and the kickoff session tomorrow morning Indonesian time. And please adjust accordingly to your time zones. We have from Indonesia to the world. So we have a living legend in tempeh. Actually, my own grandpa. He lived the history of tempeh, and my mom as well, who's doing many social works about tempeh. We're going to learn more about other ingredients and other leaves that we can make into tempeh. We'll follow up with health and fitness, how it relates to tempeh, with serious athletes, high-achieving athletes, as well as the food diplomacy aspect between governments. Why do they speak about tempeh? And after that, we also have the session of innovation, why tempeh businesses and entrepreneurs are sprouting all over the world, as well as the very special triple cooking classes towards the end. So yeah, just some clue, if you follow Tempeh Movement, we might have some present for you. We might cover some sessions that are not suitable for your time zone, so don't worry about that. But then, yeah, thank you very much for your time. So before we see you in the next sessions on Sundays, let's take a group photo.